There was a lot of talk about Sidney Crosby during the game, a lot of talk about Sidney Crosby coming out of the game. Oldest player in the tournament, 37 years old. He was the best player on the ice last night. And part of the conversation now is, I know that, listen, Crosby's going to the Hall of Fame. They have the plaque already. It's all set to go whenever he decides to retire, and they have the mandatory waiting period for him down there. He has nothing left to prove in hockey. But did not part of you last night look at that and say, man, wouldn't it be great to see this guy still competing for the Stanley Cup? Again, no slight against the Pittsburgh Penguins, but we all know where Pittsburgh's at right now. When you look at Crosby, is not part of you saying, man, I really wish that this guy was still going deep into the playoffs like he used to, because he's still got the fire, he's still got the skill, he's still one of the best players in the NHL, period, but he's not going to be in the postseason again.
Well, I think that's, with the cap going up, there's a chance they could show him a path to get back to the playoffs somehow. They have to make some changes and spend more cap money. But I would never have that conversation with Sid. If I were still running the team, I wouldn't have the guts I wouldn't lack the class or lack the intellect to even raise that situation. This is a guy who, if he decides to go elsewhere, he's got to bring it up. He's got to go to them. I can't see him doing that. I really can't.
See, I was on Sekeres and Price today making that exact same point. Like, the one thing that we know about Crosby is, outside of the skill, I mean, he's intensely loyal. Like, he's loyal to I think it means a lot to Crosby to finish playing where he started. There are some guys that, will look at their career on Hockey DB and see like 20 years Pittsburgh Penguins, 1 year Minnesota, 1 year Colorado, 1 year Philadelphia, and it's not very settling for them. But to me, I've always got the impression that Crosby wants to end his career as a Pittsburgh Penguin, and that loyalty means something to him. And I would even go one step further, Berkey, and say that part of the reason why Crosby has this level of excellence attached to him, part of that fuel is loyalty, and loyalty to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Agree or disagree?
I agree. And loyalty to those two guys. He's played this 18 years with the same two guys, or 16 years with the same two guys, with Malkin and Tanger.
Yeah.
And I think you'd like to, when you talk about finishing your career, they're setting new records and milestones about twice every season, or 3 times a season. They'll pass another benchmark. So Sid goes to 600 or 700, whatever it is. Letang goes to whatever. Malkin goes to whatever. These are all yardsticks and records being set in tandem, in trio. So really, I think it's more, the legacy is way more than the 3 cups. The legacy is 3 cups plus all the individual records that have been set on behalf of the 3 of them. We're playing together. No one's ever done it before.
One of the things I think that I know I'd be curious about this, because I don't think I've ever asked you about this. Wayne Gretzky got traded, right? Like, if Gretzky, the old saying, Gretzky gets traded, anybody can get traded. I would imagine that as a manager, though, are there just some players that you don't even bother asking about when you're making your calls? Or when you're with the Penguins, would people actually call and say, are you thinking about Sid? Or does everyone just understand that that's a no-fly zone?
It would be a real short and real angry call. It would be hanging up on a guy and going and telling everyone how stupid he was. I think you owe a certain player. You're talking about a very small group. A certain group of players deserves a level of respect that they get to call their own shots. And Sid's on that list. He's number 1 on that list. But if he wants to go somewhere else, people would understand it, and they'd say, okay, where do you want to go? And that might happen someday, but I can't see it. I think he's too loyal. And I think these other accomplishments that are being logged all along they're not the same as winning a Stanley Cup. They're memorable. They're writing history just about every 2 months. And so I think that's something that has value to Sid too. I've never asked Sid about it. I don't mean to speak for Sid, but I think that's what I know what I would think. Having met him and spent time with him and played with him, he played for me, obviously, is the respect level. I would never have the guts or the stupidity to bring that up with a player of that caliber. Because it could be a short conversation. I think it would be.
If you enjoyed that video, and we certainly hope that you do, please hit the subscribe button right there here at Daily Faceoff. I will put this lineup up against any hockey lineup anywhere. It all gets underway at 9 o'clock Eastern with Morning Cup of Hockey. That is Johnny Lazarus. That is Colby Cohen. Then at noon, it's DFO Live. And then 3 o'clock Eastern, The Sheet. Get caught up on everything in hockey.